Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Grigorovich. Today I'm going to be talking to you about post-secondary education options. So that just means things that you can do after high school or after you graduate. So when we are thinking about what we want to do after graduation, the best thing to do is to kind of close your eyes and think about where you see yourself 5 years from now. So think of things like, who are the people you want still around you? Where do you want to live? What kind of money do you want to be able to spend? Are you still living at home? Do you have your own place? Are you living with roommates? So things like that. So really think of where you're at right now and where you see yourself 5 years from now. And that kind of helps you gather what you might want to do to get you to that goal sooner than later. Okay. So, common things for your after high school options are going straight to work after high school, going into a trade or apprenticeship. You can also start attending technical school or community college, or you can go to a big college or university, or you can take a gap year. So I'm going to go into more depth about this. Work mainly just means getting a job and getting to be part of that industry where you just make money so that you can spend it. Trade or apprenticeship is really digging into a specific craft of some sort. And then technical school or community college usually ends in you obtaining either a certificate or an associate's degree. Some community colleges and technical schools now do also offer bachelor's programs, but that's specific to each school. And then when you enter a college or a university, one of the bigger ones, you usually come out of that with either an associate's level degree or bachelor's degree, and then you can use those degrees to pursue higher degrees like a doctorate or a master's degree. And then there's also a concept of taking a gap year, so taking a year or two to kind of determine what you need or what you want before applying or before deciding to join a program. Okay, so when I talk about work, this can be just keeping the job you have now as a high schooler and then just saving up money to do the things that you want to do and growing into that. But it can also mean entering what's called an entry-level position at a company. So these things are often with like finance companies, it can be with retail companies where you can really make a career just by starting working there. An example here is entry-level retail associate at Kohl's that's listed at the top there. You can just start working there as a cashier or as a floor employee at Kohl's, but then you can rise up the ranks and become like a retail store manager or assistant manager and continue with that. And then you could eventually transfer to other stores because by then you've grown in applicable skills to become a store manager at other places. So that would be one way to grow in that career. But then another one would be the bottom one that you see there, the sales trainee for a home office entry level. That shows that they're going to train you in some type of sales experience, and it looks like you could earn up to 75 to 85K, and that might be with commission since it's a sales group. So some of these work experiences that are entry-level jobs could get you making more money than you would just by working the same job that you've been working here. The key thing is when you see an entry-level position, usually that just means you need a high school diploma to get that job. You get paid more, obviously, if you have higher degrees, but to start off in some of these office jobs, a lot of times all you need is a high school diploma, and you could be making like in the $13 to $19 an hour, just learning some of the trade. So big one of that is finance companies like Wells Fargo or Synchrony. They have these positions where you can just do work and then kind of grow within that company. Okay, so this next page is really to talk about the trade and apprenticeship industry. So this website that you're looking at right now, the screenshot, is the Minnesota Department of Labor. Basically, from this website, you guys will be able to search different companies that offer apprenticeships in the state of Minnesota. So what that means is an apprenticeship is like a craft of some sort. So whether it's plumbing, HVAC, or things like sewing luxury purses, So anything from arts to like utility services can be done through apprentice work. So that means you work with a company and they teach you the skills, and once they see that you're competent or that you're good at that skill, they can just hire you on as a full employee, or you can start your own business to kind of grow in that craft or in that art. So some of these maybe would be like artisan shoemaking, making clothes, like I said earlier, HVAC, plumbing, carpentry, making nice cabinets out of wood. So a lot of those skill sets are very, very technical, but you can just learn it by getting a really good mentor that'll teach you how to do it. A lot of apprenticeships have like 2 different ways you can get into that career. Some people choose to go the apprenticeship route because that's how they learn, hands-on, and just like watching someone do it, and then they get a turn. So like, for example, if you want to go work at a guitar factory, that's likely going to be an apprenticeship where you're going to work starting at entry level and then figuring out, okay, this is how I form the wood, and this is how I craft it, and this is the type of glue I use. But other trades, you can go to a technical school for. So going into the next type of schooling is technical school or community college, is that you learn specialty skills too. So similar to trade work and apprenticeships, you can just attend formal school to get some of that skill set. So this type of schooling, you usually end up with a certificate or an associate's degree. This type of schooling is best for people that don't learn super hands-on all the time, so they want some type of like, okay, a teacher is going to sit down and read these things and I'm going to have a lesson to learn some of those trades things, where if you want to have more content, you still definitely have to do hands-on things if you're going to enter a hands-on trade, but there's going to be more book-related learning too in a technical school or community college. And then and so it's a little bit different from trades and apprenticeships like that. So with trades and apprenticeships, you usually start making money right on the dot, whereas technical school, you do have to pay to go there and still have to acquire the certificate or associate's degree and then be able to get your job after that. Some of these schools now offer bachelor's degrees, like I said earlier, but you got to look into your program to figure out which ones do and which ones don't. So I put some examples that are kind of well known in this area. So Normandale, Hennepin Technical College, Dakota County Technical College, those places offer these programs. Okay. So next, we've got colleges or universities as another choice. This is a pretty popular choice for after high school stuff. Biggest thing that I want you guys to know about the difference between a college and a university is a college is like a smaller school and a smaller pace. It's usually just governed by one school. But when you're looking at a university is a collection of colleges. So when you start looking at the University of Minnesota, they're actually made up of multiple different colleges. So you've got the College of Engineering, College of Biological Sciences, College of Liberal Arts. So they're made up of different specialties. And what's nice about going to a university versus a college is that if you're not really sure what you want to do, there's going to be a ton more options for general ed credits at a university than at other schools. So colleges tend to have specialties. Like some colleges will be known for their art programs. Some colleges are going to be known for their medical programs. So that's just one thing to consider, is if you know you're fully undecided, but you know you want to go to a formal school, a university might be a better option if you like to have a lot of choices, or it could be the wrong option because you have too many choices and it's hard to figure out which of those you actually want to do. So that's a big thing, is college is like one school, and university is a collection of colleges, and that's how they get their name. Okay, so one thing I want you guys to be aware of is that there's 2 things to kind of weigh, and I'm going to show you in the next 4 or so slides what this all kind of means and looks like. But essentially, the higher your degree is in something, the more money you can make, but the higher that your degree is in something, the more it's also going to cost you upfront. So for example, on this page, this is going to be the career field of arts and the arts one. So if you've been following along with the MCIS stuff, this is the purple section of the career fields wheel. And we're looking specifically at the arts, audio, visual, and communications cluster and not the information technology cluster. So this would be the field that, or the cluster that has like the performing arts and things like that. So the national wage is in that first column of money, and then the Minnesota annual is on that right hand side there. I want to show you guys that short-term on-the-job training for costume and wardrobe specialists. So these are the jobs where you're just straight off the bat, entry level, don't need really experience. This is the money that you'd be looking at making, so less than 1 month of training. It's pretty good for this industry. Then the moderate term on-the-job training, so you could take up to a year to be trained for your work. You can be making between $36,000 and $42,000, $52,000 highest for the photographers. So this would be like if you chose to do an apprenticeship and trained with a professional photographer for a year and then were able to start your own business. So no formal training, no college education. You could be making up to $52,000 or average $52,000 depending on how good you are at selling your product and getting clients. As we move up the degrees, so if you get a certificate or diploma, you'll notice that the average salary for that group of careers goes up. So before, like the low, or some of the lowest was like in the 30,000s. Here you don't see 30,000 at all. And so it just continues to move up. So even with bachelor's degrees, you'll notice down there that their salaries just kind of start increasing into the 50,000s and higher. And then obviously if you have work experience plus the degree, your salary goes even higher. So that's one thing to really consider, is your salary does go up the higher your degree is. And some companies, if you don't have a degree, they just cap you at a specific salary, and there's no way to get a higher pay raise until you get that degree. So that's one thing to keep track of depending on the industry you want to enter. But the flip side of that is the type of school that you choose also will increase your debt. So if you're looking at the technical school, community college stuff, you're looking at $18,000 a year as the average cost. So this is all in state for the first two rows there. The third row is out of state, and the very bottom is a private school. So private schools, even if you're in state or out of state, it doesn't really matter. They still charge everybody the same thing. But out of state living, you get charged higher than you would get charged in state. So this kind of gives you guys a perspective of the upfront cost. So most people that get bachelor's degrees, they come out with their bachelor's degree with a chunk of debt. There's always scholarships and grants out there though, so it's a lot of like each person has to find that type of, they have to put in that type of work to get that money out, to get the scholarship. So there's a lot of research to get that free money. Okay, so that's one thing that I really want you guys to take away, is that getting a higher degree means you will likely get a higher salary when you start your career, but a higher degree also creates a higher cost. So when you're thinking of your long-term job, for example, computer engineers, they're always going to have a job. Plumbers, HVAC, they're always going to have a job, right? You're always going to want plumbing in your house, and you're always going to want like air conditioning and heating. So there's certain jobs out there that we just know aren't going to go away. However, when you're looking at sales and real estate, when you think of economics, there's a rise and fall with money, that selling things might not always last long term. So that's one thing to really keep in mind, is that when you're picking a job and picking a program, you also have to look at the job outlook too. So yeah, that's my presentation today on college options. So here's the last slide to for you guys to give one last look through of these 5 options for after high school. Thank you guys for listening.